Welcome everyone to episode 67 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and it's no surprise to those of you who have known me for any length of time that I'm a big pro wrestling fan. In addition to being a musician, I think it's pretty obvious. Anyone who knows my band Vertebraker was named after a wrestling move. So obviously the difference, I should say, the influence has always been there. It's always been something I've been a big fan of. And until recently, I've always just sort of been a fan of it. I think it was about a year or two ago where my buddy Jeremy Gomez, who's been on the show before, ended up starting his own independent wrestling promotion, Generation Championship Wrestling, out of Tampa. And he had me come in and originally do, like DJing and timekeeping, but eventually did some commentary, and I also did some backstage interviews. So that was really cool for me to kind of get the chance to actually be part of the show and to get to sort of have like a foot in the door in that world, which I've always been fascinated over the years about. But it's, I think pro wrestling, it's one of the most interesting forms of sports/performance art out there because it was such a secretive thing for so long. It was very well protected for many, many years. And obviously, the secret's been out for a long time now. Everyone's kind of suspected to it, but I feel like there's still a lot of misconceptions about pro wrestling out there. I think people still have certain attitudes about it that might not necessarily be, be based in fact. They might miss the point of it entirely, but that's something we can get into certainly. And with my guest today, once I started working with Generation Championship Wrestling, I knew that this guy was not only a wrestler, but he was also a talented graphic artist, as well as a video editor, and did a lot of great behind-the-scenes work for GCW. And so I really got to know this guy quite a bit, and found out that he's also a big music fan as well. He, in addition to being an active pro wrestler, he's a host of his own podcast and internet show called Motley Metal on Pipe Bomb Radio, which is part of Pain Train Productions, I believe the channel is. And so we're going to learn about that more, but this is a guy who I've gotten to meet, especially over the past few months. He's had me on his show, so I'm having him on mine. Please welcome to the Phoenix Report, Kris Rex.
Thank you for having me, Jack. Thank you for having me, Jack. It's a pleasure to be here and be shooting the shit with you again.
Absolutely, man. Well, I again want to say thanks for having me on your show earlier this summer and kind of spotlighting my band. Really appreciate having that kind of exposure. I know your show has a pretty wide audience, internationally, so I always appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I love about doing the show is I get to kind of put that little spotlight on bands that may not have been heard of before, like Vertebraker. I'm sure a lot of my listeners, especially because I have listeners in Germany, the UK, Switzerland, Brazil, all over the United States and other countries. So for them, to be able to listen to a Vertebraker song, and it's not only just, hey, send me a song and I'll play it. Like, I actually listened to the EP when you sent it to me. I listened to every track on the EP, and I was like, I really like this song. This is the song we're going to go with. And I've actually played about 3 out of the 4 songs you sent me already.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So I appreciate that.
Vertebraker has been getting a lot of play from me.
I love it.
But it allows me to just give the spotlight on bands that I never heard of, that my audience has never heard of, and to mix that with the wider known music like the Kiss and the Metallica and the Avenged Sevenfold, and it kind of just to kind of throw that in there. It's like, oh, what was that? And it's like, oh, Vertebraker, I gotta go check them out. I know a few of my audience have told me that they checked you out on Apple Music and stuff, and they downloaded your stuff on Apple Music. So to be able to kind of link that, it's an awesome experience because that's what music is, man. Music is everlasting. This is something I've said on Motley Metal. That's the one reason I do the show is because it's everlasting. I play music from the 70s. I play music from the 80s. I play music from the 90s. I was born in 1990. I just turned 30 years old last month. I'm listening to Motley Crue. I'm listening to AC/DC. I'm listening to old school Ozzy and Black Sabbath. And been around 40 years. 40 years with actually today, Blizzard of Oz came out. So it's kind of like 40 years, like 10 years before I was born, these albums and these songs came out, and here I am still listening, bringing it to another generation. So it's so amazing because I grew up listening to this through my father and my family members, and so it's so awesome. Like, it's one of those things that'll never go away. It's a business that will always be around, is the music industry.
I think so. I mean, I think it'll always be around in one form or another. I mean, obviously the record industry has kind of been turned on its head the last 20 years, but like what you said before, I've only got 6 years on you. I was born in '84, but I grew up loving stuff from these earlier eras, and people would be like, "Why are you listening to that old stuff?" I'm like, "'Cause it's awesome. Like, have you really listened to it? Like, it's really good." And it's like, that doesn't mean I don't like new stuff too. It's just, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
It's a lot of it is also that nostalgia fact. You can listen to a song and remember where you were, what year it was, who you were with, and you're like, that just brings me back to the first time I heard that song, and it's those memories. And I'm a hip hop fan as well, huge hip hop head. I love my 90s and 80s hip hop, and there's just something about today's music that it just, even with the metal and the rock, I feel like it's missing something. There's like, with hip hop, I'm a big lyricist. I'm big with lyrics and telling a story. The hip hop that's out today, it's hard for me to sit there and be like, okay, I can relate to that, because I don't know what it's like to have a Lamborghini. I don't know what it's like, I grew up listening to Tupac and Biggie and Nas and Jay-Z, people who told stories about from where I'm from, not throwing money in people's faces. And yeah, they had their songs like that, but they told stories. They were lyricists. It wasn't rhyming just to rhyme. It was rhyming because, that's crazy. That's crazy. The way the words, they became wordsmiths, and now it's kind of like cat rhymes with hat. So, okay, I'm a cat in a hat. Like that's how it is nowadays.
Right.
Mumble rap, and everything's with auto-tune and mumbling, and it's all about the beats. And so there are a few hip hop artists out there that I do listen to. Travis Scott, I listen to him. I can't even really consider him a hip hop artist. He doesn't even consider himself a hip hop artist. He's just a musician, because he influences so many different styles into his music. He doesn't want to be labeled as just a rapper, Polo G, he's a kid that I listened to his last album, and I was just like, whoa, man, like, I feel that out. So there are some artists out there, but the majority of today's music is hard for me to sit there and actually listen to and enjoy.
Right. Do you think that's just because we're getting older, and maybe that's it?
It reminds me of that South Park episode.
Yeah.
Where everything's shitty. And it's like he's getting older, so everything's shitty to him. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel, because my nephew will play a song for me, and I'll be like, oh, that's fucking shitty. That's trash. And he's like, you're just old. And I'm like, I'm fucking 30 years old. I'm not that old. But maybe it is because I'm getting older and I'm becoming more mature. Like, I used to watch that show Weeds. Mm-hmm. And I recently just got done binging it. And I used to love the mom, Nancy Botwin. I forgot the woman who plays her.
It was Mary something Masterson?
Mary Louise Parker.
Mary Louise Parker, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I thought she was so badass, cool. And then now as an adult, I'm binging this show and I'm like, she was such an irresponsible mother. Like, that's what came out of my mouth. Like, you are so irresponsible as a mother.
Yeah.
The 17-year-old me was like, oh, that's so fucking badass, a mom that sells pot.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how that works, and even how we consume entertainment. Certainly, with different life experience, we relate to different things in different ways. It's interesting you mentioned being a big hip hop fan as well. I knew for me growing up, I always felt like it was like you had to be like one or the other. I was always a rock guy. I really didn't like hip hop very much at all, especially when I was younger. I hated it. But as you get older, you start to appreciate these things more and more. Was there ever any pushback for being a guy like yourself who was able to appreciate both, or from either crowd? I don't know.
I was one of those guys that listened to everything. Like, I grew up listening to Metallica's Black Album, like, 24/7. I grew up listening to Tupac on cassette tapes. Like, I listened to everything. Even like Roy Orbison, I used to listen to. Elvis, dating back to the stuff my dad listened to. But I was kind of one of those kids that, growing up, I really wasn't accepted for the things that I was into. You know, I was a hip hop and a metal fan. I was a hip hop and a rock fan. I loved Linkin Park, but you know, I loved Ludacris. You know, so it was kind of, you know, I did have my little stint as a teenager rapping. You know, I was kind of a wordsmith. You know, and I always enjoyed putting rhymes together and like, you know, those punchlines. I always loved it, and there was a lot of backlash for me being a Caucasian kid trying to rap, you know, and you know, I did it for a few years, but a lot of my like it was kind of like the white kids didn't really accept me, you know, because I would dress hip hop, but I was listening to Metallica, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I really wasn't accepted by the rockers. I grew up like in high school, middle school. I hung out with mostly the you know, the African Americans. You know, I felt more comfortable because I seen more of myself in them. You know, I seen more of myself in the friends I was hanging out with that were listening to the hip hop, and they were from the streets and everything. And I kind of always felt more comfortable with them rather than the rock kids. You know, and you know, I really can't pinpoint a exact reason on why that is. It was just always the black kids that I hung out with were always more accepting. And you know, it was, you know, so it's like, that's just kind of who I stuck to. But I was always one of those kids that, you know, it was, what's your favorite genre of music? You can't ask me that. You know, I listen to everything from techno to fucking, to metal to alternative. I listen to everything, you know, so you couldn't pigeonhole me into one genre. But sure. I was definitely one of those kids, and there was definitely backlash. I would say more from the rockers. You know, that kind of like, you dress hip hop. How can you be a rocker?
Right.
You know, it was kind of one of those things. And it's like, well, because I'm my own fucking person, you know. I have to say, it was bands like Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park that kind of blended them two together. That sure. kind of made it more acceptable for when I went into. I remember being in middle school when the Hybrid Theory LP dropped.
Yeah.
And bro, that album changed my life, man. Like I had no clue what the fuck I downloaded. Okay. I had downloaded versions of the songs, and then I had a CD that had their name. A bootleg CD that had their name spelled wrong. It was spelled Lincoln, like Abe Lincoln. So for the longest, I thought that's how it was spelled. And when they infused the rock in the hip hop, it was definitely like when I got into middle school, it was kind of like, all right, now I'm kind of, you know, now it's cool, you know, to be both, you know.
Well, yeah, for sure. That time, the late '90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of blending of that. You had even as far back as like, you know, Rage Against the Machine and everything, like kind of started that, but then Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock especially, those guys were just massive at the time. You know, it's interesting for me. I feel like as time has gone on, it's been less about like a black-white thing. It's been less of a racial thing. I mean, I know for me growing up, it wasn't because like black guys listen to that. It was just because I didn't really like that kind of music. But as I learned more about it, like when you said when Linkin Park came in, it made me that kind of made me appreciate, sort of go back and appreciate that stuff more and more. Because I saw that and seeing guys like the Roots even, you know, who are like just great musicians, you know, being able to appreciate it more on that level.
Yeah, and I'll tell you firsthand, like I caught a lot of backlash from family and friends of family for the way I dressed and who I hung out with, and it was definitely a racial thing. I'll 100% not deny that. You know, there are family that I have that I do not associate with because of, you know, how I was treated. You know, and I was always the type of, I don't give a fuck what the color of your skin is. How you treat me, that, you know, if you treat me like an asshole, in my eyes, you're a fucking asshole. But if you're a good fucking person, I don't care whether you're black, white, fucking yellow, pink, blue, that shit don't matter to me. And it was just, in the area I grew up in, it's called Marine Park. And then like, close to Marine Park is this little neighborhood called Garrison Beach. I kind of don't know how it is now, but I know when I was growing up as a kid, it was called White Harlem, and we called it White Harlem because it was majority white kids that when I was hanging out there, it was white kids that dressed hood, dressed street, dressed like they were quote unquote black,
right,
but hated black people.
Huh. Yeah, It's
You know,
funny.
it was.
It's bizarre how that stuff works sometimes. You know, it's just, I mean, it shows you how just insane that line of thought is to begin with. But like how similar the cultures really are. It's surprising that there is, it just, sometimes it's hard to believe that some of
Let me
those
tell you,
prejudices are there.
When Eminem came out, I would say that was like the worst thing that happened to white America. I mean, for those white guys that are like, this is our music. Now you have this white guy doing rap music, and white people are hating it. Like these older white, like I know my father hated me listening to Eminem. A lot of the people I grew up hated that I listened to Eminem because it's like he's a white guy. He's a white guy. He shouldn't be rapping, and it's like that. Like that's exactly why he's doing it.
That's so bizarre, and that's something I've always observed about hip hop, and I don't know, for some reason it's harder for like a white person to be into hip hop than it is for like someone who's not white, someone who's black or Latino to be in a rock band. Like people, I don't think people really said. I mean, I don't know, maybe they did because it was a different time.
Well, I could kind of understand because a lot of like hip hop stemmed from the riots and the shit. It's the same shit that's going on today. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
The same shit that's going on today is the shit people were rapping about when hip hop first fucking started, and it started here in New York.
It did.
So it's like these problems are still going on, and I can understand where people would say, okay, it's kind of like I know. Eminem probably heard this his whole career that you're a culture vulture, you're raping our culture, profiting off of our culture, and I can understand where that because it's like really a white person like me wouldn't kind of understand NWA's point of view and being beat by police and but at the same time, like at 10 years old I had a police officer put a gun to my head for trying to answer a phone. My cousin had sold ecstasy to an undercover cop. And they came with a search warrant. I had no idea what was going on. I was upstairs in my dad's room on the computer working on a project. And I just heard a bunch of rumbling downstairs. So what I used to do is we used to have the stairwell where it was like, I don't want to say gates, but it's like little poles there. And I would like sneak through and always peep what people were doing. So I was sneaking down and I'm peeping through this little hole. And all of a sudden a cop seeing me. And he's like, get down here. And my instinct is to run. I don't know who these people are in my house. I ran to run back up the stairs. They grabbed me, dragged me back down the stairs, put me on the couch. The phone rang on the caller ID. I seen it was my father's phone number. I went to go pick up the phone. I had never had an interaction with the police before. I don't know protocol. I went to go answer the phone because my father's calling. I went to go pick up the phone and boom, right to my head, 10 years old. I had a handicapped brother and sister that you could see physically that they're challenged. Had them handcuffed. My cousin was 13 at the time, just coming in from his friend's house. Boom, put him in handcuffs and made him take my Rottweiler in handcuffs and bring him into the bathroom. Like, so it's like, I kind of understand a lot of the shit that rappers talk about, when it comes to the police and the police brutality.
For sure. I mean, there is definitely something to be said there for music as far as bringing people together with similar experiences, even if the ethnicity is different. But I always found that was so much more of a sensitive thing in the world of hip hop as opposed to rock. I never really heard anyone accuse Jimi Hendrix or Seven Dust or Living Colour of ripping off white guy stuff, which wasn't true because you go far back to like Chuck Berry and Fats Domino, who helped started as well. It was always a blending of the two cultures.
You know what it is a lot of people like to cause that segregation between us. Like you said, dating all the way back to the origins of rock. It was mixed with black, white. It was about making music together.
It was inherently a mixture of R&B, rhythm and blues, and not like modern R&B, but rhythm and blues and country music, mixed with gospel, mixed with all these other elements of jazz, and that's how it started. But no, go ahead.
Yeah. And it's kind of like somewhere along the line, it's like you get people that kind of want to create that rift, you know. And I feel a lot of that's going on today. And it's crazy how we could talk about shit from 20, 30, 50 years ago, and it's like, well, that shit's still happening today. Like, there are always going to be, and this is the sad part, there's always going to be people in the world that want to separate, that want to cause that segregation. Be like, oh no, this is black music, this is white music. No, it's fucking music. Like,
I mean, you know, there's a point to be made about, I think human beings inherently are tribal to a degree. I think, I think it's human nature, not even so much, you know, where like, you know, one group is more behaves this way than the other. It's just, you know, you look at it all over the world. People segregate themselves for all different kinds of reasons. It happens in nearly every society on the planet. You know, men and women sometimes, you know, even act that way toward each other, let alone, you know, people from different cities. If you don't believe me, you know, go to any sports chat forum. You know, they'll say the same thing. Yeah. So, but speaking of that, I know you've been a wrestler for a couple years now. When did you get into it, and what was sort of your athletic background before doing it?
Well, getting into it, like you, I was always a fan. From as far back as I can remember, like that was the thing I was into. My mother, she passed away when I was about 2 years old, turning 2. She passed away from a brain aneurysm, so I never really got to know my mother. But
sorry to hear that.
I would always, it happens. You know, it builds me up to who I am today.
Sure.
And I would always hear stories of how much of a huge wrestling fan. I mean, so much of a wrestling fan that today we would call her a mark.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much of a wrestling fan she was, to the point where she went to SummerSlam 90. What was it? SummerSlam 91, 92, when Macho Man got married to Miss Elizabeth.
No kidding.
She was there. She was there.
Way.
She was going to what we call now indie events, outlaw events.
No kidding.
While she was pregnant with me.
Wow.
I mean, like, so it's kind of like
it was baked
I was
in,
born
right
into this, bro.
Yeah.
So as long as I can remember, I've been a wrestling fan. Always wanted to do it. I said when I was about 6 years old, I said, this is what I'm going to do with my life. Like, there was no police officer, lawyer, doctor. Like, it was always, I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to wrestle for WWE. I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to be a wrestler. And, you know, you always hear that's not a real job. It can't happen. It can't happen. But, like, I can't sit there and say, you know how they say kids always go through phases. First they want to be an astronaut. Then, no, it was never a phase for me. It was always, that's what I'm hell bent on doing. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you knew you were going to make it happen somehow.
And growing up, I always heard from my teachers, no, what do you really want to do with your life? What do you really want to do? And I'm like, this is what I really want to do. So I started backyard wrestling in about 2006 out in Garrettson Beach. I was in high school, and one of my me and my friend were always wrestling each other. Me and my best friend at the time were always wrestling each other, whether it was in the lunchroom, like we were privy that it was worked, you know. So we would put on little matches in the lunchroom. Like, we'd set up matches and we'd be like, okay, we're going to do this, set up spots. We didn't know, what the actual terminology for
it. Now, was this going on like during the school day?
Yeah, like we'd go into the lunch.
Gosh.
We'd be like, all right, at lunch today, we're going to start it off and then we're going to finish. I'm going to frog splash you off the table. Like,
that's crazy.
So that's what we were doing. We'd get in so much trouble from the deans and shit. And
I'm like, yeah, like how do you not immediately get thrown into detention or let alone start an actual fight?
Well, it's funny because how we became friends was we actually did not like each other at all. He was one of those kids that I can admit now that I was an asshole. And I was kind of a bully towards him. I was an asshole. And it was mostly because I was one of those kids that wanted to be cool. So if all the cool kids were making fun of him, I was going to make fun of him. You know, it was an asshole move of me, but one day we were picking on him and he just stood up. And I got in his face. I said, you want to do something? Do something. He stepped up to my face. We were both ready to come to blows, and then the dean came in and just pulled us aside and sent us to the dean's office. So I go into the dean's office. He goes into the dean's office where they got us separated. I see him pull out a WWE magazine. So I just look over like this, and I see a WWE magazine. I just sit next to him. I go, dude, that's the latest WWE magazine? He goes, yeah. I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I was like, I'm an asshole, and we pretty much became friends. Like that day, I went over his house, and his mom is like, wait, this is the kid you got in trouble with for about the fight? You're like, yeah, but we became friends over wrestling.
Well, I mean, that's cool, man, and that was cool of you even to apologize for something like that, and that was cool of you to kind of recognize that and end up making a friend out of it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we wound up becoming best friends, and like everything was wrestling. We watched every pay-per-view together. We'd play every wrestling game together. We'd go into abandoned fucking sites and just put a mattress down and start wrestling each other. So then, when we were in high school, he had a friend who was backyard wrestling and said, hey, you guys want to do this? And we were like, fuck yeah, man. And I get there, and I'm walking again, and then we walk through this wooded area, and we just keep walking and walking. All you see is just woods and woods and woods. It used to be an old airstrip. And so now it's all a weeded area, and we keep going deeper and deeper into these woods, and then I see a ring. A ring that was built. And it was built with 2x4s, mattresses. The ropes were wiring with were regular ropes, but with garden hose tube around it, taped, so that when we hit it, we didn't hit it. Like they built a ring and cemented it into the ground. My first match, in the backyard, and I remember I almost caught on fire because it was like a big hangout too. So they had a big fire pit. And this kid, I'm not sure if it's this kid Winky or this kid Issues, comes and gives me a front drop kick. And I just go back, and I'm like this close to the fire. Almost caught on fire. But yeah, I started backyard wrestling, and that was going well. I met my best friend here, John Pun, who wound up becoming my tag team partner. And we started kind of doing our own thing. I was wrestling in this ring with him. And then there was, drama. Like anything, there's drama. And one of our guys wasn't allowed to wrestle because something had happened with a girl or some shit. And so my friend was like, yo, why don't we just do our own thing? We do it in parks, like with playgrounds. Because that's what he used to do when he was backyarding. And I was like, all right, let's down. We started wrestling in playgrounds. I don't know if I should put this out there, but maybe, fuck it, I'll put it out there, right? Mark Henn from AEW.
Mark Quinn from Private Party?
Yes.
Oh, he was one of the guys that you would backyard wrestle with?
We gave him his start in backyard wrestling.
No kidding.
We aren't the type of people to ever take credit for anyone's career. We always jokingly say, if it wasn't for us, this kid wouldn't be wrestling. Because he came to us, so he was kind of scared. And he was like, I don't know what to do, but we could see he could flip and all that. Yeah. Like, natural. He was good. He said, just fucking do that. You'll be over. Became a natural. And then he started training at House of Glory, and I see where he is now, and I'm just like, wow, he was one of our recruits.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bizarre thing with the backyard wrestling thing. I know it's not something, it's not something you can probably condone as a professional now,
No, I always say I don't condone it. And the reason why I say I don't condone it today is because today there are so many other options and possibilities to join a school.
Yes.
When I was doing it in 2006, the only school that was open was Johnny Rod's.
Yeah.
Or this place that we wound up going to around the time to get some training, FTW in Long Island. Okay. So you either had to go to Johnny Rod's and pay crazy money,
yeah,
or you had to travel out to fucking Long Island. And we paid like $75.
Right.
And we trained. So back when we were doing it, that was our only way of wrestling. Now there's at least 3 schools in every state.
For sure, for sure. I think.
I know in New York there's about 4 or 5 different schools.
No. Did Mikey Whipwreck have a school in Long Island?
Yeah, he was with NYWC, New York Wrestling Connection.
Gotcha.
They're cool people out there.
So I'd heard about guys like Cardona and Myers training there and other.
Oh yeah, that's where they're from. They're Mikey's students, along with my trainer Joel Jose Maximo. They were Mikey's original students. They were actually the last students of the original House of Hardcore in ECW.
Sure.
They were like the next crop of guys to debut for ECW. We're going to be the SAT. And when you think about it, all those guys that were in the beginning stages of Ring of Honor, those were all the guys that were supposed to be in ECW.
Yeah.
If ECW had survived, the Low Keys, the CM Punks, the Bryan Danielsons, the Briscoes.
Wasn't Gabe Sapolsky? Didn't he work for ECW? So it was
Paul Heyman's. He was like Paul Heyman's right hand man.
Yeah.
So like we started backyarding.
And to your point, there have been guys who have gone on to major careers who got their start backyarding. You mentioned CM Punk, the Hardy Boys even. Seth Rollins. Seth
Rollins did it.
A couple others.
Hurricane Helms.
Sure.
A lot of guys did. A lot of guys that came up in 98, 99, 2000. They all backyarded. Mick Foley even backyarded, before backyard wrestling was even a thing.
Exactly.
So like I said, I don't condone it because of the fact that there is availability, and the fact that you're fucking up your body.
Yeah, and it's just, you're not trained properly. It's so dangerous. I mean, even for young kids.
That's why we decided, even as backyarders, okay, let's go out and see where we can train. So we started going out to Long Island every now and then. Then we found a place in Jersey we started going to, which is where I first met Azriel. And so we knew, okay, we're gonna need to know what the fuck we're doing. So we all started training and shit. And then around 2011, late 2009, we were still yarding, but we were what we call underground wrestling, because we were renting out a venue and we were running in a professional ring, in a professional venue, and charging people. Because in Jersey there's no athletic commission, so you can run illegal outlaw shows there. So that's what we did. So we didn't want to consider ourselves pro wrestling, but we didn't want to consider ourselves backyard wrestling. So we consider ourselves underground wrestlers. That was going good for a little bit, and of course, drama, big heads, egos, that got in the way, and it kind of really was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun for me. And then I wound up just randomly looking up promoters' email addresses, and I found the AOL screen name of, at the time, Pro Wrestling Syndicate promoter, which is what Creative Pro and Wrestle Pro stemmed from, Eric Tapout. And our little wrestling group was called Underground Wrestling Alliance, UWA. We had a website and everything, and we would do interviews. So I said, why don't I try to interview a promoter? The worst he can say is no, right?
Yeah.
That's always, I think, everything I do is to send an email out. The worst they can say is no, and I've been rejected my whole life. So I sent out, I actually hit him up. It was a screen name, so I hit him up on AIM. And I'm like, hey, man, da-da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, I'll do an interview. So I got them an interview. I wound up building a personal relationship with Eric Tapout, to where I was like, listen, I want to get my foot in the door. Anything I can do. He goes, I know it doesn't sound appeasing, but you can come set up chairs at the show. I would travel from Brooklyn, New York. The first show I went to, I believe, was in Yonkers. I traveled from Brooklyn, New York to Yonkers with no money, nothing in my pocket, nothing to smoke, nothing to eat, nothing to, I was just like, this is my shot. If I'm going there, even if it's just fucking setting up chairs, this is my shot. So that's what I did. So what I would do is every show I would go there, help out, set up chairs, set up tables, ask the talent if there's anything they need, start, getting my foot in the door. And then I wound up being a vendor for him. What I would do is I would book talent for autograph signings. The first one I did was X-Pac. And that was actually a really cool experience. He was like, hey, you want to do X-Pac? And I was like, how much is it going to be? It's going to be a hefty amount of money. Well, not a hefty amount, but it's it's not, no, you throw him $100, he'll do it. No,
he's a big name,
So, I was like, yeah, me and my brother went half and half on him. My brother was like, I'll help you out with him. And we got his flight info and everything. It was funny that day. We had borrowed my dad's car and everything, and I knew we were picking up X-Pac from the airport. So I was like, yo, B, my brother Brian. I was like, yo, B, we got to roll up, right? He's like, yeah, it's X-Pac. I was like, yep. So we rolled up a couple blunts and everything, picked him up from the airport. Yo, The way I picked him up in the airport, though, is so fucking funny because he's like, hey, you can't miss me. I'm in a black polo shirt and, like, golf shorts and sunglasses and a bandana. I said, okay. So we're going through I think it was LaGuardia or JFK. I think it was LaGuardia. So we're going through LaGuardia and everything, and then I spot him. And I'm like, this is X-Pac. I don't want anybody asking for an autograph unless we're getting paid yet. So
right.
I hop out the car, jump out the car, grab him, throw him in the car. And he's like a kidnapping scene.
Right.
I just grabbed him. Hey, this is Kris from Hardstyle Promotions. Boom. Boom. Threw him in there. He's like, oh, damn, bro. I thought I was getting kidnapped. I was like, I'm sorry. I just didn't want you, like, getting bombarded. And he's like, nobody knows.
Yeah,
he's like, nobody knows who the fuck I am. And I'm like, well, I know who the fuck you are. So, and, we lit him up and everything. And he told us, hey, I really don't smoke blunts. I rather joints. It's too hard on my lungs. We're like, all right, cool. And it was so cool. He was so polite, too, and pleasant. Like, he kept bumming cigarettes off of us. And he's like, is that a Newport, man? Can I please have one? I'll throw him a whole pack. Dude, you don't have to do it. I'm like, dude, you're fucking X-Pac. And he's like, stop. Call me Sean. And I'm like, and that was like the weirdest thing for me, because the whole rest of the weekend I was calling him Pac, because I was like, okay, you don't want me to call you X, I'm just gonna call you Pac. I don't feel right calling you Sean,
right,
like it's
right.
weird. Even now, like even wrestlers I know, I'll call them by their work name. Like
that's something I've always noticed too. Like it's such, there's still like elements of that sort of secret society thing where it's like I try to explain to people who aren't wrestling fans, like, I mean, they don't know what a work or a shoot or a kayfabe is. I can't really talk like that. And it's like you have people calling each other by their gimmick name, by their character name, I should say. And it's a little odd. I feel like in music we don't really have that so much.
And honestly, I would feel weird if like a wrestler called me Kris.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my work name is Kris Rex,
it's just spelled differently.
Most people just call me Rex.
Yeah.
So like when I'm in the locker room and I hear Kris,
mm-hmm.
and they're acknowledging me,
mm-hmm.
I feel so, because I'm like, no one knows me as Kris. Everyone knows me as Rex.
Right.
Like not even Kris Rex, just Rex. So I even sometimes I just kind of like you, I'll call you Jack because you're Jack Connor.
Yeah.
Unless like I'm really close with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I rarely call them their real name. Like a guy that's really helped put me on in the last couple of years, Franco Varga. It's not his shoot name.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't call him by his shoot name. I call him Franco.
Right.
It's just like that's kind of how I was introduced to you. So
it's like a weird it's like a weird dissociative identity kind of thing.
So, I started doing the vendor thing, and, I wound up getting into a falling out because I realized that I was kind of – I don't want to put the blame on Tap Out. I'm not going to put all the blame on Tap Out. It was on to me. There was this one show where Tap Out had hit me up, and one of his talents – I'm not going to name names was having problems paying rent when he was living in Florida. So he hit me up and said, hey, would you mind helping out? I said, yeah. And he goes, in return, they'll do an autograph session for you, for X amount. We'll get you to do a whole group for X amount, and, you keep all the money, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. The day of that show, I did not have the money for them up front, which was 100% the worst business decision to make. But I figured, hey, I can make a couple bucks off of autographs and signings, and I'll just throw them that money. Like, fuck me making profit. We get set up. One of the guys is at the bar getting drunk. I keep telling him. So then I send another one of his partners to go get him. Every 5 minutes, I got to send somebody to go get this guy. One of the other dudes is just walking around, and it's only two people here that are actually sitting here trying with me. And so I already, again, scumbag move on my part. I'll admit my faults. Me and Pun, he knew what was up, and I was like, shit, I'm going to have to make a run for it. So I had him take my gear and throw it in his mom's car, so I can make a fucking clean getaway. Again, I'm just being honest here. Stupid fucking move. Stupid, especially someone that wanted to get into the fucking business. Stupid move. So I was like, okay, we'll get a clean getaway. Boom. Well, I guess they were kind of had a suspicion, or at least Tap Out did, and they go, yo, we need you to do a promo, because I was doing this whole I'm gonna be reality check-in training, so it was kind of like a lackey thing, and they were like, yeah, we're just gonna do a funny promo. They're gonna make you do push-ups and take chops and shit like that, just to kind of like hazing and everything. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we do the promo and everything. It's funny. We're all laughing, and then I go to leave, and they're like, oh, hold up. Everyone else in the locker room clears out. And they're like, where's the money, da da da. And I was like, what money? And they're like, for the autograph session. I said, what autograph session? The ones you guys didn't do? Because you're not going to get paid for something you didn't do. Devin Moore. I'm going to wind up naming names here. It'll be so much easier. But Devin Moore, actually, he got really pissed off. And he was like, yo, I got to fucking take care of my sister. We're on fucking welfare. Like, I need my fucking money. And I was like, then you should have been here instead of at the fucking bar drinking, making your fucking money. He came at me. Rumor is, around this time, that he Yakuza kicked me into a locker. Bullshit story. He did put his hands on me, we did have a little scuffle. All I remember, then I'm on the floor like this trying to defend myself. I see Pun running in the door, grab Devin Moore. Pun's smaller than me. Grabs Devin Moore and pulls him off of me and everything. So, like, we're trying to figure out what the fuck going on. I'm trying to get out. So I'm trying to walk through every which door I can find just to get the fuck out of here now, because I'm going to be fucking killed. I walk through, I see the fucking first door I find, so I walk through it. It's a fucking sauna. Who comes stepping out of the sauna? Dan Moff. Dan Moff goes, what's this I hear? Whose bag did you go into? He's misunderstanding the story. He thought I went into someone's bag and stole their money. So legit dude grabs me like this and lifts me up and goes, who the fuck's bag did you go into? You think that's cool to do to the fucking boys? And I'm like, yo, sit me down and I'll fucking explain the situation to you. So, I explained it to him, like, this is what happened. I booked him for an autograph signing. They didn't do the autograph signing. Like, and granted, I didn't have the money to pay him. Dan Moff was my savior that night. And he straight up told me, I'm going to be your only friend in this building right now. You have an hour to get this money to this venue, or I'm letting them do whatever the fuck they want to you. But I'm saving your ass right now. And thank God he saved my ass. He bought me an hour. I wound up having to call my fucking dad, who from the get-go was telling me this was a bad idea to even go through with in the first place. And he's like, I knew it. What the fuck? How much do you need? I'm like, $300. He's like, all right, cool. I'll be there in an hour, Kris. I can't believe this shit. I told you not to do it. I'm like, Dad, please. At this point, I need to get the fuck out of this situation. I told Pun, my dad's coming. He's going to give me the money and everything. Within like 20 minutes, my dad was there. From Brooklyn to Queens. 20 minutes. Like,
yeah, he was all ass.
I went to go give him a hug, and I felt his 9mm in the back. And I was like, Dad, no. He was like, who the fuck put their hands on you? Because that's not how you do business. Because if they want to put their hands on you, I got something for them. And I'm like, Dad, no. Like, my dad was ready to bust caps inside the Elks Lodge that night. This is the first time I'm ever publicly, like, telling this story.
That's crazy.
Because I'm at the point in my career where I don't give a fuck about catching heat anymore. There was nothing anyone
Was your dad just did he always have that 9mm? Was he a cop?
Oh, my dad was a military dude.
Oh, okay, right on.
He's always had the 9mm, always had the rifles. And he heard that someone was fucking me up, and he heard I was getting jumped.
I hear you.
So, he came in strapped, and he straight up said, man, again, this is the first time I'm putting this out there. I have no bad blood with any of this. This is years ago, but my dad straight up said, where's this promoter? I'm putting this down his mouth right now. And I stopped him. My dad was ready to...
Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
ready to do the time. And the funny thing is that as this is all going on, and I'm talking to my father, trying to talk my dad out of this, the one thing that comes out of my mouth is, please don't do this. I want a career. This will fuck it up for me. That's all I was worried about at that point.
Yeah, and at this point, you're still like trying to get your foot in the door. You're not even officially trained, correct? I mean, you haven't had any professional matches?
I had some training. I always had the gift of the gab. I was always able to talk people into doing things.
Gotcha.
So I was able to, I was always honest. Listen, I don't have much training, but if you give me the ball, I'll run with it. Like that's how I was always able to somehow get myself booked. So without any training. But and it's just crazy how the one thing I was thinking about isn't, oh, I almost got jumped by these guys, or my thing is, if my dad busts a cap in this dude, I'll never have a career. Like that. That's how passionate
among other things
I was about wrestling.
Yeah.
And my dad was ready to do the time, and that
crazy.
And that just goes to show the type of father my dad was. Like, even if I was in the fucking wrong, he was gonna be there to protect me. So, we wound up having a falling out over that, and then a few months later, my cousin he worked for a security company. He was actually, I don't know if you remember Little Guido Nunzio.
Yeah.
He was his boss at the security
kidding.
company. Yeah, so he told him, listen, my little cousin's thinking about getting into the business and everything. Would you mind taking a look at him? So one day, I just randomly get a phone call that says Jay Maritato.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why does that last name Maritato sound so familiar to me? But I don't know this number.
It's Little Guido. He's Nunzio.
So I just pick it up.
FBI.
And I go, hi, who is this? And they go, hi, this is James Maritato, Little Guido Nunzio. And I was just like, he goes, hello, is this Kris? I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I work for your cousin Tom. He was telling me you were thinking about getting into the business and wanted me to take a look at you. Why don't you come out to Jersey on this date? And, I'll come take it. Like, I think it was like a month away. I think this was like September or October or November. So I was like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Go out to Jersey. And right then and there, I said, well, I need some more training. I need to find a fucking school ASAP. So I was just looking online for schools in Brooklyn, and I found House of Glory. So I was always at the Queens events, ICW events in Queens. So I was actually on a pre-show, and I ran into Amazing Red. Amazing Red is one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, real great cruiserweight.
100%.
Worked for Impact Wrestling for a lot of years.
And I was talking to them about joining House of Glory. The thing was, I worked in Brooklyn, House of Glory's in Queens. I get out of work at 5 p.m. I don't want to get out of work, do an hour and a half of training. I mean, an hour and a half of travel, and then only have about an hour to train. And I just kind of didn't like the vibe I was getting, and it was kind of like and I don't know if maybe I misread the situation, but it seemed like they were all about, you got the money. And it's like, I need to know info first. And then I found out that there was another school in Brooklyn called the Ludus opening up. And I've seen a lot of backyarders. I used to backyard, like from 2KW and stuff. They were joining the school. So I just called up one day. I didn't know who the trainer was. I just seen wrestling school in Brooklyn, cheap. Well, not cheap, but affordable for me. They're open till 10 p.m. Okay, that's fucking perfect. It's only a half an hour away from my job. I call up the number, and hi, this is Joel Maximo. And I'm like, pause, because I grew up watching Red and Joel and Jose. So here I am speaking to this dude. Here I am again, starstruck, just like I was with Nunzio. And he goes, hello, and I'm like, Joel Maximo. He goes, yeah, this is the Ludus Wrestling School. And I go, I want to join the school. He goes, come down Saturday. We'll take a look at you and everything. I said, okay. Walked into the school, and I met him. I was just like, I'm fucking Joel Maximo. Like, to me, like, maybe to 90% of the casual fans don't know who the fuck they are, But for me, being an indie fan and being around indie shows and watching him in front of me at indie shows, like that was like meeting The Rock to me, And he put me in the ring and said, do you have any experience? And I said, no. I didn't want anyone. I said, I'm going to be a pro wrestler, backyarding, everything out the window, fresh start, clean slate. And I remember specifically he asked me to do a drop kick. And he goes, you ever do a drop kick before? And I was like, no. He goes, all right, this is how you do it. Showed me how to do it. Did it perfect, first try. And he goes, why'd you lie to me? And I said, I didn't. He goes, I asked you if you did a drop kick before. And you said no. And I said, I never did. He goes, how did you do that perfectly? I was like, I just watched what you did. He was like, there's no way you've never done this before and you did perfect drop kick. I was like, well, I mean, I used to backyard. He goes, then you have experience. I said, no, I don't consider that experience. He goes, you have experience. He goes, backyard. He goes, you have some experience in this. You know. So that's really like, I gave him the money right there for the month. My first month right then and there, gave him the money. So I started training under Joel. So yeah, as far as like athletic background, I really wasn't an athletic kid. I wasn't really much into sports really until high school. I joined the high school football team, really, just for something to do. And one of my best friends was part of the team, so I said, hey, let me do it. Really, I wish I could say I was a star athlete, that I played in fucking 60 games, and I played in one fucking game, one play. All I did was block as a cornerback, and I was at a homecoming game. So it was like already the season's done, and it's like, oh, let's just throw everybody out there now, But it did teach me how to take hits. I was the smallest kid on the team, I was hazed, I was bullied, I went through all that, and it kind of made it a bad experience for me. It made me not want to play football. Like, it was kind of like, I'm just on the team to be on the team now, whatever. I'm just standing here. I played JV baseball, junior varsity baseball. Again, I joined that team for something to do because I was really cool with the coach and everything. I was pretty good at baseball. Had one of the highest batting averages. I had a temper, so that was. I remember one time I got hit with the ball, and I went to rush the pitch like it was an MLB game, and my coach was like, "Kris, don't do it." I said, "I'm gonna knock this fucking kid's head off."
It's like a hockey fight right there.
Yeah, man. But again, I really wasn't. Yeah, it's not something I could sit there and brag about. But I was a high school athlete. I rarely even But I did have an athletic background. The things I was taught, in hindsight, I now realize it did prep me for wrestling. Being able to take a hit, the mental toughness that you have to gain, constantly being told, being pushed to your limits. I mean, I was 125 fucking pounds, and I'm expected to push this fucking 200-pound fucking mechanical system, and I'm forced to fucking push this shit for fucking 40 yards, like it teaches you about, physical strength, but mental strength as well. So that's one thing I will credit to, me playing high school. I wish I joined the football team. I had an opportunity to, but when I was in high school, I was also more focused on being a knucklehead, running the streets, getting high, and partying. Like, I was a 17-year-old kid, pussy, beer, and weed, man. And, I got offered by the coach, hey, listen, we need somebody at 125 pounds. I think you'd be good for this. And my grades weren't all that well, but, there was always room for improvement there. But I kind of just turned him down. And now in hindsight, thinking damn, maybe that could have been something for me, That definitely would have helped me in the professional wrestling thing. But that kind of, when I was in high school, even though I knew I wanted to be a wrestler, it was kind of like, I don't know what I want to do yet. But sure, I know I want to be a wrestler, but I'm not sure if that's what I'm going to do.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I was asking about the athletic background because you get so many guys who come into it who are already athletes. And I imagine, the thing about being a wrestler is not just learning the moves or not even just learning how to take bumps, but also just the conditioning overall is just something. Especially you see guys, and you have guys with all different types of bodies, but I mean, naturally, a lot of the top guys, generally speaking, are kind of jacked up and have abs and whatnot.
That is 100% a downfall for me.
Right.
It's definitely one of my flaws is the fact that I know that is one thing that's holding me back is my body type, my size. And honestly, it's hard to motivate yourself to work out, man. Especially when it's by yourself and like you're the only like. It's hard for me to get motivated. I prior to COVID, I was working out like a beast. I was going to the gym. I was working out like a beast, and then COVID hit, and I was just like, oh well, there's no wrestling, so.
Yeah.
And I've always been I've always been kind of a lazy person, and it's also like you have to motivate me, and myself is not enough motivation to sit there and go work out. Like I need somebody to go with me. I need a gym partner. I need a coach. That's why before COVID, I was hitting the gyms with my trainer. Because I'm like, there's nobody that's going to prep me better. Nobody's going to sit there and push me better than my trainer. Because I'm not going to show up to the gym by myself.
Sure.
Now, if he's like, yo, Monday, 11 a.m., gym, be there. Okay, I'm going to be there. He's going to push me.
For sure. I mean, and it's hard enough, even just as even as a non-wrestler, just to keep motivated to stay in there. Like I've tried to work out by myself for a couple years there, but like joining stuff like CrossFit, I'll do. Like that's easier for me just because it's like okay, I know that there's a class I can go to. I have people who are helping me out and teaching me what to do and what not to do, and then I mean. But then, like, I don't know how some of these guys do it between the working out and the dieting and the travel, and you're also taking bumps and throwing yourself on the ground every night. I have so much respect for what all you guys do.
Yeah, man. And let me tell you, another part of the reason why it's hard for me to work out and hard for me to like motivate myself has a lot to do with the hazing and the bullying in high school. I was the smallest guy in the football team. A lot of these guys were working out, and I was always being picked on, for my weight. And it's like, how can you expect someone to be motivated to go from 125 to 150 when all you're doing is just pushing this fucking person down?
Right. Like I get some people might be motivated by negative reinforcement. That only goes so far. I think everyone. I feel like most people respond a lot better to positive reinforcement, to have someone encouraging you to do something like that. And
yeah. And it's like I'm one of those that like you negative reinforcement. I use that too. Like I'll tell you, John Pond, my best friend, my partner, he would always say you suck, and that just only made me become better, and made me take this to a professional level now. Like okay, I suck, look at me, and kind of like, and he says it all the time. I help motivate you. Like that's why I said the shit I did. But then when it comes to working out and you're in this sport. I consider it a sport, it's performance, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Sure.
That's completely dominated by these big guys who I've even asked, how can I do this? How can I do this? And really, there is no help. And it's like, oh, you need to get bigger, kid. Well, okay, how can I do this? And you don't want to provide that help. Then you can't sit there and rag on me then because I'm asking for the help. There have been plenty of times, yo, what can I do? Oh, you just need to eat more, kid. I'm sorry. Ask my roommates. Ask John Bond. I eat like a fucking 300-pound gorilla. So it's not that I'm not eating. It's not that I'm on drugs. It's not that I'm not eating. It's my metabolism. I just recently gained weight in the last year. I'm now 160 pounds. I was 150 for about 3 years, bro. So now that I'm getting older, my metabolism is starting down. But it was always hard for me to sit there and I always hear it. You're too small. You're too small. Well, help me, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Instead of telling me I'm too small, tell me how the fuck I can become too big.
I imagine it's just guys being insecure and not wanting to give up their spot, in their mind.
And it kind of makes me like not want to work and give it a fuck. You like, what if I can make it being 160 pounds?
Yeah.
What if I don't have to put in the work? You have to, because if you don't work out, you gain weight. If I don't work out, I don't gain weight. Mm-hmm. If I can eat whatever I want and not gain weight. And for me, it's easy to sit there and say, oh, well, I work out. Well, you have to fucking work out. Because if you don't work out for a week, you're gaining 5 to 10 pounds, right?
Right.
I don't have that problem. So what, not saying why should I have to put in that work, but, if I could do it how I'm doing it, and I have a completely different style. If I was a bigger dude, I cannot work the style that I work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've seen it.
there's so many guys out there who are kind of breaking that stereotype. I mean, you look at some of the biggest guys in the business right now. You got the Young Bucks, you got Adam Cole, and all this other stuff. You know, guys who are kind of able to overcome that stigma. And I mean, even Chris Jericho had always said, like, I might not be the biggest guy on the show, but I could have the biggest personality, and that's got me to where.
And that's how I am. I may not be the biggest guy, and I may not be the best wrestler, but what I can do for your company behind the scenes is worth more, you know? And that's actually how I've gotten a lot of my bookings in the last few years, is because I sat there and said, you know what? I haven't been able to show my full potential in the ring because I've run into a situation where guys don't want to work that spot monkey style, or guys don't want to do too much, or guys just want to keep it simple. And I'm not one of those guys, man. I'm one of those guys where, yes, I want to do those video game wrestling. Like, that's what interested me, you know? So if I can fucking do that, you know, and why not? So what I'll do is I'll hit up a promoter and be like, hey, listen, if you need talent, I'm available, and I can cut a good promo. I've always been good at promos and talking shit. It's just a gift of the gab. My in-ring work, I would say, you know, I have about legit, you know, a lot of veterans don't like to hear this. In my phone right here, I have 6 matches, legit 6 matches planned out in my phone that are bangers. Like my matches are never, I'll beat this guy up for 5 minutes, and no, it's always back and forth. You do this, I'm going to reverse yours, you're going to reverse mine, I'm going to do your move, you're going to do my move, blah, 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 blah. Keep it even. Like a boxing match or something, you know? And a lot of guys don't want to do that. So when I started feeling like I was like, you know, going nowhere, you know, my school had closed down. This was back in 2015. We had a stable of Snot. It was me, Sammy Callahan, Azriel, Kevin Matthews, Mario Boccara, John Punn. We were going to have Jerry Lynn join. We were going to have Vince Russo join.
Those are some pretty big names.
Yeah, and we were just starting to get steam, and then the promotion, you know, died, man. Like right as we were building that steam, and I feel like that was a moment that I was going to be put on the fucking indie map.
Right.
And that promotion died, so I had nowhere to go. I feel like I've been blackballed in New York, a lot in New York. And again, I'm never someone to put full blame on anyone. It's always a half and half blame. I had a mouth. I talked a lot of shit. But I feel, well, a lot of my shit talk was in defense of my school, in defense of my trainer, in defense of myself. You know, and I've always been a real person. Like, don't sit there and talk shit online and then come and shake my hand. You know, like that, you know, and there's a lot of that going on in New York. And it was kind of like a beef. You know, there was a lot of beef between New York schools. And if you were a Joel Maximo guy, well, certain promotions didn't want to use Joel Maximo guys. Certain promotions didn't want to use this school's people. So it kind of like left you where, like, I was a Joel Maximo guy. Y'all don't want to use me? Fine. I'm a Joel Maximo guy till I fucking die. Like, I will stay in this school. FSW is my promotion. Well, FSW is gone now in 2015. Just as we were gaining some steam, I had nowhere to go. New York wouldn't book me. New York wasn't going to fucking book me because of either something I may have said in the past or something that got misconstrued, or the fact that I was strictly a Joel Maximo student. And that's how petty it was. Even if you were just a student of him. But because, and not that I was just a student, because I was the defender. I was, you know, the soldier. You know, and that's how I've always been. You know, there was a lot of guys in the school that played, you know, they sat on the fence, you know, for the best of their career. And for me, maybe it wasn't so, like, best for me, but I've always stuck on my guns with loyalty, and loyalty is key to me. So maybe while other students were sitting on the fence, you know, so they can save their own asses in their own career, maybe I should have done the same, but I always felt loyalty means more than anything. So if my loyalty to Joel is going to fuck my career over, but you know what, at least he knows that I've been loyal to him, and I was ride or die to him, and everyone else fucking knows it, you know, knows my loyalty. So now it's like, I got to start over. There's nowhere I can go. And what sucks is because of my heat my partner John Pun was catching my heat, so he couldn't get booked at places, and he wasn't even like really training with us. Like he started training with, then he went and trained on his own and everything, but it was because everyone knew he was my best friend. That was my partner. He was at all the Luda shows. He was at all the FSW. Because of that, he got that stigma on him. Now we're at this point where I have nowhere to go and he's got nowhere to go. We decided, fuck it, let's team up. So we started going on the road as a tag team, and we legit, outside of New York, we were going to Ohio, we were going to Delaware, we were going to Florida, we were like going everywhere outside of fucking New York. And for about a year, we were on the road teaming, and not on the road, it was like every week, but it was like maybe every 3 weeks we were on the road, which is pretty good for people, for us. And it was a hell of a ride. With my best friend, and we won belts that we never got, but that was pretty cool. At least I could say, I won, belts even though we never got them.
Sure.
And it was a fun ride, and it really made me realize that there was more than just fucking New York, man. That I don't need New York to fucking. I always felt like it's the Ultimo Dragon story. He was in Japan, training in Japan. They said that, you're not good here. You're not going to make it here. What did he do? He went over to Mexico, became a fucking star, and now Japan wants to claim him. And that's that's always been my over the last few years since I started teaming with Pun is I'm going to show every promoter in New York that I don't need you. I'm going to go elsewhere, make my name, and then you're going to want me. You're going to want to claim me because I'm a New York guy, but you never did shit for me. And that's always kind of been my attitude is, fuck you, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. Sometimes it helps to have that chip on your shoulder. It can motivate you to do stuff like that. I know, certainly in my career with music, I was in Tampa, St. Pete for a long time, and it was in a couple bands, but none of them really went. None of them really went too far. Like had a little bit of stuff here and there, but it wasn't until I moved to Brevard County in Florida, which is on the East Coast, and then to Orlando, where I really started to find like a group of bands that I really felt like I fit in with.
Well, that's what wound up fucking happening is we were on the road for about a year. We were booking for a company that we wound up getting fucked by this promoter. It was UWL, Ultimate Wrestling League, based in Ohio. This promoter, he wound up asking me we wound up getting booked for this show. That was happening in January 2018. And you're like, okay, cool. And then he was like, hey, I heard you're a graphic guy. Can you do graphics too? And I was like, well, it's good because I have a deal. If you book me, you get your graphics cheaper. Another way to get booking,
Yeah.
Who wouldn't do that, right?
Right.
So he was like, okay, cool, no problem. So I started doing graphics. I did a flyer for him. I did a couple match cards. Now we're leading in weeks into the show, and I'm noticing he hasn't hit me up for any more graphics. So we just hit him up hey, man, I want to finish up these graphics for you. We're leading into the show. You have what are the other matches? And he said, honestly, dude, guys, I don't have any other matches. And we said, well, maybe we can help you out. So we booked a bunch of our boys from New York. And, we booked them out there, and he actually leading into the show, we became his bookers. We planned out 6 months. 6 months where all our stories would end and new stories would be created in the 6 months. Every month we debut a couple new people in. We had this whole strategic planned out where we were going to make money after 6 months. We were going to. Leading into the second show, the February show we were supposed to do, just ghosted us. Nobody heard from him. So we wound up being one of those scumbag promoters. And then Franco Varga from Infinite Pro Wrestling wound up hitting me up, and he goes, hey, I heard you're good at graphics. Can you do something for me? At the time, they were 302 Promotions. So I started doing graphics with him, and I just put it out there. I said, hey, man, if you ever need extra talent, I'm pretty good in the ring. I'm never the type of person to brag.
Mm-hmm.
I can be a superstar, And I'll still be like, yeah, I'm pretty good in the ring. You know, like, I'm just humble like that. So I was like, hey, I'm pretty good in the ring. If you need somebody to put somebody over, I'm great for that position. I love doing that. I love being a jobber, I'll tell you. So he was like, okay, no problem. I'll keep you in mind. And I've heard that so many times that I was just like, oh, here's another one. I'll just do graphics for him. I'll never wrestle for him. And then that was in maybe March, April. And I started doing more graphics for him. September, in like August, he hit me up and goes, hey, I got a spot for you next month. You're going to be working with this kid. We want to kind of do a little man versus big man thing. I think that's a good story to tell, and I think you can tell that story well. And I also did graphics for him. So it was September 2018. I made my debut for Infinite Pro Wrestling. I wrestled Royal Money, who's at a Monster Factory. Great dude. It was a heartfelt moment for me in the ring with him. You know, before the match, you know, I always like to get to know. I never like to shoot into what are we doing tonight. Hey, how you doing? Yo, what you do? You know, you smoke? Let's go smoke real quick. You know, I want to get to know the person. I want to feel comfortable, so that way I go in there with that chemistry. We hit it off and everything. We're planning our matches, and he's cool with everything I want to fucking do. I'm cool with everything he wants to do. He's like, I just want to make you look good. I'm the same way. Now the whole thing is after the match, Franco wanted to continue the story with us. So after the match, he was supposed to attack me. So, you know, we're doing the match and everything like that. I get the win. He's like, oh, what the hell? He goes to leave. Then he goes to leave the ring, then comes back in. I'm like, okay, here goes the beatdown. So I'm trying to get my back, like, towards him and everything. And then I turn around and he sticks his hand out. So I'm like, oh, we're going to do the fake handshake deal. Okay, perfect. Like, none of this is being talked about in the ring, you know? So I'm just going with his motion. So he stuck his hand out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be the face. I'm going to go shake his hand. Sure. I shake his hand. He shook my hand and left the ring. He shook my hand, hugged me, and left the ring. Wow. And I was just like, okay, like maybe plans change. I don't know. I get to the back, and he hugged me. He goes, bro, you were the easiest person I've ever fucking worked with, brother. And I was like, what happened with the attack thing? He goes, bro, I couldn't. He goes, that was a good match between us, and I feel like you just really need to know your potential.
That's awesome.
He goes, that was just out of respect. He goes, that legit was a respect handshake. And I was just like, and being someone that I just lost my home promotion. Yeah. You know, I'm out here in the wild. To have somebody sit there and acknowledge, like, dude, like totally break kayfabe. And I've never had, broke kayfabe in the middle of a ring, and he just legit shook my hand. I was like, oh.
That's and awesome. What was the guy's name again?
Royal Money.
Royal Money. Right on.
Yeah. And so it was just like, wow. And for him to tell me I was one of the easiest people he's ever fucking worked with, and he wants to do it again. Unfortunately we never got to do it again. But another thing about that debut was there's this one kid in the crowd, and it hurts me to say it sometimes. It was his birthday, and he lost the use of his legs.
Oh man.
Yeah. Couldn't walk. He's in a wheelchair, and it was his birthday. And me being the face, I wanted to know where he was in the crowd. So when I came out, because the heel came out first, so Royal Money came out first and talked the shit to the kid. So I'm like, okay, this is easy. I'm automatically the good guy.
Yeah, easy pop.
So I come out, I got the easy pop and everything. I go right over to him. I'm like, it's your birthday? You're the birthday boy? I'm winning this match for you. I'm going to win this for you.
Yeah.
And then this is what kind of really gave me my love back for wrestling. When I won again, I knew I was winning. He doesn't know I'm winning. You know, when I won and I'm up celebrating and I'm on the turn, I turned to him, and the look on him and his family's face, like, just said it all. I was like, this is why the fuck I do it. That's the best. Because to this kid, I just beat this kid for him on his birthday. I just beat this dude for him as a birthday. Like, that's how he's seeing it. Like, he did that for me. I went up to him after the match, and, he's thanking me and everything like that. And I'm like, you see what I did out there? I just want you to know you can do anything in life if I could beat that kid. If I could beat that dude, you could do anything in life. And his family's thanking me and thanking me and thanking me. And I'm like, man. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. We wound up doing a benefit show for him like a year later. Actually, no, not even a year later. Like a few months later, we wound up doing a benefit show for him. And he comes in and he has things to help him walk. and shit, like, and I was just like, I went up to him and I'm like, oh my God, you know, and it was kind of like, I was so happy to see this kid and see him not walking on his own, but making progress.
Yeah.
And I went up to him. I'm not sure if it was before or after the show, but I remember he was in the back with us, in the locker room with us, and I just went up to him and I said, his mom was there, and I was like, hey, I just want to talk to you for a minute. His mom's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, I just want you guys to know how thankful I am for you guys. They're like, why? And I'm like, that last show, you guys really made me realize what I do this for and why I do this. I was so lost at that time of, why am I doing this? I'm not making money. I'm not getting the buzz. Why am I fucking putting my body through this? Like, I was in a really bad point. And, like, he just made me realize exactly why I do this. So I had to, like, go up to, and his parents were like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm serious. Like, I was lost. I didn't know what to think about wrestling or why I do this. And the look on his face when I won. And he knew I won for him. That's why I fucking do this shit. You know, and then there was another kid I met through Infinite. Infinite wound up becoming my family. Like, Dave, the promoter, he's like a second father to me. You know, whenever I'm out in Delaware, I stay at his house. I stay with Franco. You know, they really became a family for me. So it kind of gave me that home I was looking for since FSW went away. And then there was this kid, Jojo, and he's autistic. So sometimes he can't be there for all the matches, you know, but his one day I had met him after a show, his mom after a show, and his mom goes, he can't see all the matches, but he always makes sure he's out here for yours. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's telling me, about everything that he's going through. And like, after wrestling in a few months, you get to know these fans. And he was sitting there telling me I'm his favorite wrestler in the world. And I'm like, in the world? No. And he's like, no, you're my favorite wrestler in the whole world. I'm like, so John Cena, he goes, I like you more than him. Roman Reigns, I like you more than, and I'm to hear this from
huge.
This 5-year-old
so
kid,
cool.
Man. I'm like, man, keep that mindset, man. Don't become like me and close-minded, man. Like, keep, like, to hear that from him. And then I got my first title win ever.
Yeah.
Well, aside from the tag titles, my first singles title.
Yeah.
I got it in November of 2019. I didn't even know I was booked to win, like, at all. Like, I knew we were crowning a new champion because our champion had gotten injured, and we were doing a big 5-way match. Right. So I'm the type of person, I'm like, elimination. All right, I want to be out first. Like, that's how I am. Like, I love being on the card first. Job me out. Like, pin me, pay me, let me go home.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, I got this dope spot that gets me out first. Everyone in the match is talking about who wants to get out first. Because, I'm gonna break some kayfabe here. You would think we'd all want to last to the end, and like, no, we just want to get in and get out and go home.
With the battle royals,
none of us want to win this battle. So,
I mean, that's got to be the craziest thing to organize, by the way, the battle royals. Anytime you see like that many people in the ring together, it's just
at least it wasn't a battle royal. It was just 5 guys in an elimination match.
Oh, okay.
So, I hate battle royals. I try to get out of battle royals. I try to be the first one eliminated. I try to hide under the ring. I try to not be in them. I try to leave the arena before them. Right. So we're planning this 5-way match. And I'm like, okay, I'm working on this dope spot that I legit jacked it from a 3-way match between Tajiri, Mikey Whipwreck, and Super Crazy from ECW. But I had seen this one spot. I was like, oh, that's dope to get an elimination and get me out. So I'm like, I got this spot to get me out. And they're like, go check the card. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, go check the card. You're not getting out first. I said, fuck. All right. I look at the card. My name's underlined.
Oh, so you're going over.
I'm going over.
Oh, jeez.
And no one told me. Like, I'm cool with Franco and Dave. I talk to them throughout the week. I talk to them all the time. And not once did either of them mention that I was going over in this match.
They would have let me know next time.
I found out right then and there, oh shit, I'm winning the belt tonight, bro. All right, cool. So I'm like, fuck. So we go through the match, and the way I like to plan multi-man matches is in and out, in and out, in and out. You and you do a spot, next person, you and you, this person comes in, dumps him out, next person, blah, 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 in and out, in and out. That's the only way. Otherwise, it turns into a clusterfuck. Mm-hmm. Towards the finish of the match, I fucked my knee up.
Oh, no.
There's a spot where Travis Banks whips me into the corner. I take the buckle. He comes running at me. I roll into a super kick. So I roll under him. I roll, come up, super kick. As I'm throwing the super kick, I felt my leg just.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, fuck. So now I'm limping, but I still got to finish the match.
Yeah.
There's more spot in the match after the super kick.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking frog splash.
Oh, no.
And I knew my knee was fucked up.
Is that the worst you've been hurt in the ring?
No.
Because I was going to ask what your history with injuries and stuff were.
Well, I'll get to that after this. So I'm like, fuck, there's one more spot in the match. My knee is fucked up, and this is the night I'm winning the fucking belt.
Oh, man.
I'm in top. So I'm like, fuck it. I slowly climb up top. I'm like, fuck, how am I going to do this? I put off probably the shittiest frog splash. But I'm like, I splashed him. I splash him. 1, 2, 3. I got the ball. I'm limping. And everyone's like, you all right? I'm not trying to let anyone know that I feel seriously hurt because this is my only title. Like, to a lot of, I know it's gimmick, it's a work. You were told you're going over. But for me, that's an acknowledgement.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
We trust you enough, You're a company guy,
It's huge. Yeah.
So for me, I was like, this can't end for me like this. Like, no, I just won this belt. This is my first singles title. To me, it's real. It's that acknowledgement of finally busting my ass for 9 years. Finally, someone showing something like, yo.
It's a sign of confidence.
Here's the ball, kid.
Yeah.
Here's the ball, kid. Run with it.
A sign of trust.
So everyone was coming up to me, and then I'm thinking of how I could say this because this is the first time I'm telling this story.
Okay. Yeah.
So, a lot of promotions, they don't let you take the belt home.
Right.
And that's understandable. I had to catch a bus to get back to New York. So I needed someone to drive me to the bus station. So I'm packing up and I threw the belt in my bag. And, I went home. Now, this is the first time. I'm sorry, Franco, Dave, if you're listening, I am sorry. My whole plan was to go home with the belt.
Oh, yeah.
My idea was, this is me covering my ass now.
Right.
Again, I am so sorry, Dave, Franco. I love the fuck out of you guys. And I
like a little insurance policy there.
Exactly. This is my first belt. I'm taking it back with me. You ain't stripping me of this belt. Guess what? 2 weeks later are TV tapings. Guess who can't go to the TV tapings?
Because you're too hurt.
The champion. And so I won the Fury TV belt.
Mm-hmm.
For Fury TV.
Yeah.
I cannot make the Fury TV tapings as Fury TV champion. I have the belt, though. So they can't. So Franco to me goes, bro, you can't. I'm like, I was sick and I was still going through my shit with my knee. And I was really, I felt like I got hit by a truck. And he was like, Joe, it's the fucking TV tapings and our champion isn't here. I don't know what the fuck to do, da-da-da. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you can't strip me of the belt because you don't have the belt. And that was me kind of like trying to put my best into like, okay, if you want to strip the belt, either I'm going to have to send you the belt or you're going to have to come get the belt or I'm going to have to lose the belt. That's the only way you're getting it off me. And then COVID hit. So I had my first defense in February. And I really wasn't too happy with that match. And then I was scheduled to. All right, here's another one. Okay, again, I'm gonna open up some can of worms for you, Jack. You got a good podcast here. So after my February defense against Jake Hollister, who's another good talent, someone I've been on the road with. I love him like a brother. We were all going to travel to Maine for a show, for Main Event Wrestling. And he had me booked in a tag tournament type thing with this random dude. And I kind of don't feel comfortable with that. Like, all right, if it makes sense for me and the to do the team, then yeah, but to just team up, like I had been stuck in stables and tag teams pretty much my whole career.
Right.
So it's kind of like, this is my singles chance.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a tag team, and I don't want to be in a tag team match that makes no sense. So, I kind of
And did you even know the guy?
No.
No. Okay. Well, there you go.
So I had hit the promoter up, and he had told me his idea, and I kind of was like, well, let me see how I can get out of this. So I said, hey, I got an idea. I think it could work. I'll talk to, Dave and see if we can get it done. What if I defended my belt against Jake, because that was supposed to be the rematch anyway. We're supposed to start a feud. What if I defend my belt against Jake in your promotion? The Infinite Pro Wrestling TV, Fury TV title gets defended at Main Event Wrestling in another state, in another promotion. And he was like, oh, hell yeah, all over. I said, yes, I got myself out of that one. So that was kind of my way of getting out of that match that I didn't want to participate in. Because now in my career, I feel if I'm not going to make the money, if I'm not going to, have the fan base, I'm not going to get that buzz, then I want to work who I want to work and the matches that I want to work. I at least be that, And so that's kind of where my mindset has been lately is I want to know what I'm doing. I don't want to show up to a show and find out what I'm doing. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to be comfortable with what I'm doing, and I want what I'm doing to make sense. I don't want to be in tag team matches. I don't want to be in stables, and it's kind of like it's time for me to break out. So that's kind of like, and I know I've rubbed one promoter the wrong way because he said, I'd gotten a booking through someone else, and he told, hey, this is the idea I have for you, and I was just kind of like, is there anything? And my response was, is there anything else you can, do for me? And he's like, I don't know. That's kind of the only open position I had on the card, and I'll have to think about it. And then he called the person that got me booked, and it was kind of like, yo, does this dude want to work? Because I just offered him something and he turned me down, and I had a conversation, and I'm like, just my whole thing is I want to work with people that I'm going to be able to put on a match with, a match right. That I have in my head. For me, I have this grand opus in my head. There's this blueprint, this grand opus for a magical match. Like I said, I have 6 of them written in my phone. Right. I have this idea that if one person just agrees to just say yes, just do this, I guarantee I will have all those fans on their feet. But the thing is like a lot of guys don't want to do it, or a lot of guys don't want to plan all their shit out. I'm the same way. I don't like to plan everything out, but I like to have a basis of what I'm doing.
Yeah, you got bullet points.
A lot of guys, I'm very fast paced. A lot of guys don't want to work a fast paced style. They don't want to. They want to work that old school. You don't have to do much for this crowd, and I'm like, that doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. That doesn't matter to me because whether it's 5 people or whether it's 150 people there, I want them to have the same match.
Yeah.
I want that that same match. I want that same work ethic. Mm-hmm. Just because there's 5 people in the crowd doesn't mean I should take it easy. I'm still gonna put my body on the line. And there's a shitload of moves I've done at training and it's like I've never gotten to pull them off in matches. Like, if you watch my matches, you notice I really don't do anything. And I get a lot of, now I'm not going to say heat, but like a lot of my friends, family, and fans, they'll hit me up and say, hey, how come, you don't do this and you don't do this and you don't, and I'm like, and it's hard to explain that. I can't, because it has to be a co-op thing. My opponent has to agree to it. Right. I can't just up and do it. So there's a lot of Lucha Libre stuff that I haven't gotten to do since the singles run. That I'm just like, if someone just says, okay, Rex, we'll go with your match. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. You don't ever have to listen to any of my match ideas again. Mm-hmm. But in my heart, I feel 90%. It's going to go. I feel it in my, you have those gut feelings where like, I know if this just happens, it's going to blow up.
Absolutely.
And I have that gut feeling about these matches that I come up with in my head, because I don't just come up with I close my eyes and I picture the ring. I picture every position I am in the ring. Okay, well, I'm going to whip you from here to here, then you're going to run over here. Everything's pictured in my head. So it's kind of like I type it down and then like I'll show it to someone and I'm like, let's take this out. And it's like, and in my head, if you take one element out, you just fuck the whole matchup. You know, it's kind of like, you know, you mess up one note on the bass. Mm-hmm. Everyone's hearing that. Everyone, you know, right. It's like you fucked up. You know, so it's kind of like you take one element out that match, and it's kind of like, well, everything was based around that whole, like, everything is based around the beginning. Like, if we're going back and forth and we're doing, like, teasing our finishes in the beginning, right? For me, if you take that out and you just do the finishes at the end, then the finishes kind of, yeah, they mean something, but they don't mean as much, because now if we added that spot back into where we're going for each other's finishes, then it means something, because we've been trying to do it the whole match.
I mean, it kind of sounds like if you're like hitting a wrong note or something, or a wrong move in your case, it's like, even if not everyone notices, you notice, and that tends to throw off your rhythm and your confidence going into it. You know, so I definitely can relate to that.
So it's kind of like I'm still waiting for that breakout match. I'm still waiting for that match that I can sit there. Like, I even have a hard time sending my footage to people, because I'll look at it and I'm like, this isn't, you know, this is just basic, like, it's just basic wrestling, 1, 2, 3, take a bump, clothesline here, headlock here.
You're
like,
your own biggest critic.
Exactly. And I'm like, I know what I'm capable of doing, you know.
For sure.
And like, one of my favorite matches, and this is a match I'll always show people, it's from 2014, 2015. And it's one of my favorite matches against this kid Sebastian Cage, because we trained together, we both love the Lucha Libre, and we both sit there and said, we're going to work the match we want to work. Fuck what the promoter wants to work. Fuck what the boys think we should work. Fuck what the veterans say. Fuck what everybody. This is what we want to do. And we pulled it off, and it was a good fucking match. It was good, nice back and forth. There was no, oh, this guy's getting beat up more. No, it was a nice. I was a heel, he was a face, but it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I say that is my best match to date. Mm-hmm. To date. All right, not gonna say my best. I would say my best, yeah. I have this runner-up, but Gotcha. It's kind of like, that match is years old, but that's the match I'd rather show to somebody, because if you really want to see my true potential, like, watch that fucking match.
I hear
and
you.
How everything was so on fucking point.
Kris, as we start to wind down here, I know you got involved with GCW as a video editor, as a director and graphic artist. Do you see that as possibly, you know, as you continue on in the business? Obviously, you're an in-ring worker, but having all these other skills, do you see that as being a possible career path years from now?
100%. That's honestly one of the reasons I do it, because I know my body doesn't last forever. I know the possibilities of me making it to WWE are very, very slim. I'm very realistic about, you know, my career and the future. The chance of me getting signed and making money, you know, it's very slim for anybody, you know, but I feel for me it's even slimmer. But now, if I can get a position in like AEW as a producer or a graphic guy or something, and I can make a comfortable living and not have to take bumps, I'm fine with that, you know, because I'm still in the business. I'm still doing something I'm passionate about, but I don't have to break my body anymore. And I know, you know, I know that there's a career there, you know. Even if I God forbid had, you know, a life-threatening injury, you know, due to something in the ring, I know I'm a graphic artist, I'm a video editor, I know how to fucking produce live streams now, you know. There's just so much that I know how to do that. I'm a valuable asset to any company. And that's one thing I'll always stress is, you can sit there, you can be the best wrestler in the ring, you could be the best promo guy, you can be you could be the top selling merch, you could be bringing in all that money. But what are you doing as an asset? Are you an asset? No, you're replaceable, because all that anybody else can do. Anybody can be the best wrestler. Anybody can cut a promo. Anybody. But can you be a company guy? Can you be a business guy? What can you do in the background? And that's something I learned through Joel, because that's how I gained my friendship and my personal relationship with Joel. Is one day we had a falling out with our announcer. And he needed an announcer. And of course, everybody wants to wrestle on show day. Everyone wants to wrestle. And he came up and said, "Hey, Rex, do you mind taking a step back today and announcing?" "Sure." I announced. I think I announced for like 3 weeks. And then we had a falling out with a graphic guy that was doing our graphics. I said, I'm okay with Photoshop. I can do graphics. I started doing graphics, and I started improving my, like, if I look back at those first graphics I did, they'll probably make me throw up. but
you're making yourself an asset. You're letting people know that, hey, I have all these different.
I started doing the graphics, and then we needed a music guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do that. We needed somebody to help edit videos. I'll do that. So now I'm doing everything in this company on top of wrestling. And this is something like I'll always sit there. Probably the only thing I'll brag about myself is that I never had a problem saying, yeah, I'll take a step back. There were plenty of shows where I was like, listen, I just need you to like just focus on video tonight, or just focus on the music tonight. You know, I promise I'll take care of you, Rex. You know, it's like, whatever, man. That's what you need from me. That's what's needed, and that's what's missing. A lot of guys, it's I want to wrestle, and it's like, okay, but what can you do for me?
Yeah.
You know, anybody can wrestle. Anybody can get booked, because when you're that type of person where I just want to get booked, you're not doing anything for that company unless you're a name. And if you're a name, they're coming to you. You're not going to them. You're using their buzz to build your buzz.
Right.
But now if it's someone like me where it's like, listen, I'll be honest with you, I don't have much of a buzz. I really won't be a draw for you, but I can handle your graphic work. I can handle your video work. I can handle this and that for you. You need music guy. You need this. And I'll never have a problem taking a step back and not wrestling.
It's smart. I mean, you know, being a reliable utility player in just about any line of work, that can take you pretty far. And not a lot of people understand that. And I think that's...
Before COVID hit, I was being prepped to be a producer for Infinite Pro Wrestling. I was going to be handling all the live pay-per-views. I was going to be running down people's finishes, going around. They were prepping me to do that because Franco was like, yo, is that something you'd be interested in doing? And I'm like, hell yeah, bro, because I know that can lead to a job elsewhere. Yeah. You know, that can lead to I may not get a job in WWE as a fucking wrestler. I may not be a main event star, you know. But I guarantee I can get a job as a graphic designer. I can get a job there as a video editor. Sure. My confidence in my out of ring work, in a weird way, is higher than me being a wrestler. Yeah. Like you asked me, you know, how do you think yourself as a wrestler? I'm an all right wrestler. How do you see yourself as a graphic designer? I'm fucking dope. Or how are you as a video editor? I'm the fucking best there is. You know, like, yeah. Because you know it definitely leaves options open for me. You know, and that's the thing. A lot of guys is you take away the wrestling, what do you have? You know, if a lot of these guys being signed to AEW or working the indies, what do they have if they get dropped, if they get released?
Yeah,
they're gonna go back to working at Walmart where everybody can come up to them and be like, oh, you used to be on TV. That's my worst fear, man. Is being one of those guys where it's like you're up here. And you feel it's never going to end, and then you get released and you have to go work with Joe Schmo. And now you have everybody in there like, wait, weren't you just on TV? Now you're making $10 an hour? Working at McDonald's? You know, like, that's always kind of been my worst fear, is like being on top and then hitting that rock bottom, you know. And a lot of guys, they don't have that alternative where it's like, other than wrestling, there's nothing else that keeps them in the business. You know, if your legs go out, you don't do graphics, you don't do anything outside of that, so you're not needed. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I've always tried to make myself, is the guy that is irreplaceable. You know, it was funny one day when going back to the belt thing, you know, me and Travis Banks had done a spot where he threw me into a guardrail, and I took I hit the guardrail. I flipped into the guardrail, but the guardrail hit the wall and put a hole in the wall.
Oh boy! At
the venue. So you know, Franco called me up one day and he's like, "Yo, you guys gonna have to go half on it." And I was like, "Well, you know my financial situation, so you know, just take it out of whatever payments are coming. You know, just handle it." He's like, "All right, cool." And you know, he was kind of heated, and then you know, he calmed down. He was like, "You know, we really can't do anything to you, Rex, because you're our only company guy."
Right.
So it kind of like solidified me, as, it's like I'm as much as I'm replaceable, there's also things that they're not going to be able to get done without me. And I think that's what any company I work for. At GCW, I do their graphics.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's went to someone else like one or two times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it ain't Rex, it ain't Kris Rex's graphics,
Yeah.
And I like Jeremy, I love that he gave me, the opportunity to help produce the shows and do the graphics, and he's always offering me opportunities to come down to wrestle in Florida, so I give it up to Jeremy, and he's doing great things. I love that he's getting out of state, I love that he's running in fucking Indiana and Detroit.
Yeah,
actually Gangrel. I did an interview with Gangrel
Yeah.
about a month ago. And he put them over too. So, I see that they're going all fucking over the place.
Yeah, it's cool to see my buddy's little promotion kind of grow and grow, and it's been great for me just getting to host some of the shows and do some of the commentary and meet some cool people like yourself and Montesi and a couple other people that I've had the pleasure of working with. So it's great to see, and we've seen guys and girls who have come through who have since gone on to AEW and WWE and Impact and all these other places. So that's really, really cool.
Oh yeah, that's a great thing, because like I was saying with Mark Henn, how we kind of got started with backyard wrestling. When I started training under Joel,
Mm-hmm.
Santana and Ortiz, those were guys I was training with,
No kidding.
So to see them,
they're great.
To see them on TV, and I knew them from backyarding. I knew them from 2KW backyarding, so to see how far they've come, it's kind of like it's like kind of seeing your brother graduate high school or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I remember when we were in the ring just training, and now they're fucking signed on TV on a weekly basis, one of the top stars in the company, and I'm like, it's a proud moment. Even when I see fucking guys that I put on GCW flyers, and then the next thing you know, they're on AEW, and I'm like, dude,
it's amazing.
You're doing something right, Jeremy.
Yeah. So last question before we go. I know you've got Motley Metal and everything. You mentioned playing music. Do you play or any instruments at all, or do you dabble in music a little bit besides wrestling?
Actually, I've had a nice history with music. In middle school, I played the clarinet.
Okay.
I played the clarinet for about 4 years, 4 years. I played the clarinet. In high school, also in middle school, I played a little bit of the saxophone. In high school, I played a little drums, some bass guitar, little piano. Not enough to sit there and say I can play piano, but I've always been musically inclined. I actually was accepted to Five Towns College, which is one of the best colleges for music production in the United States. Yeah, I got accepted to that college because of my last year in high school. I had no music classes,
Mm-hmm.
And I loved music, and I wanted to get into this music college, the only college I wanted to get into, and I just wanted to help out. So one day I just went to the music room. And it was one of my friend's teachers, a guitar teacher, and he was building a little studio for live when they do the live performances at the school and everything. And I was like, I would go on my lunch breaks, and I would go on my lunch break into his room, and we built a portable studio.
No kidding.
And built it together, yeah. And we wound up building a rapport with each other, and I would just go in and record the chorus. I would help out on my own free time after school and during lunch breaks. Like, I would just devote my time to helping out. And he wrote me a letter of recommendation, which actually helped me get into Five Towns College. Unfortunately, I was not able to go Five Towns College due to financial issues and my thick-headedness. My father was like, hey, it's really expensive. So this is the way he meant it, but not the way he said it. So why don't you, give it a try at a community college, and then we'll see. But the way he said it was, if you're going to waste my fucking money, waste it. You might as well, waste it at Kingsborough, And I kind of took it like that, and legit within 2 months of being in college, I sold my books back. My dad had no idea. From October to January. my father had no idea I wasn't going to class. I probably went to classes for 1 month. I went to classes. So from October to January, my dad had no clue I wasn't even going to college. I sold my books back. I would go to a couple classes. Philosophy I would go to because I love philosophy. But what turned me off from college and made me stop going was kind of felt like high school again. And a lot like my English class was linked with my philosophy class. My English professor was a fucking dick. So if you failed English, you failed philosophy. I was great in philosophy. I'm that type of person. I've always been into Greek mythology, philosophy, and the human mind. I've always been into that. And when this teacher was a dick, and what it was there was this thing about relating entertainment to real life and how some people can take entertainment literal, and we had to, quote something or you reference something from entertainment and media. My thing was Eminem's song. They say moods can alter moods and talk to you, but can it load a gun up for you and cock it too? Well, if it can, then the next time you assault a dude, tell the judge it was my fault and I'll get sued. Mm. I used that line. That was my reference. I failed. I wrote a 4-page essay, failed it because he felt that my topic was not on par with the assignment. I'm like, that's a perfect example. He says it in the song. Like, if I say I have a gun, you're gonna go out and buy a gun, shoot someone, and say it's because I have a gun. That is the perfect, that is literally what you're asking for in this assignment. So I was just really turned off by the whole college experience and just said, fuck it, selling my books back. I'm gonna just see how long I can get away with this. Then my dad got a academic expulsion letter.
Well, there you go. That was that.
And my dad was like, "You've been expelled," and I was like, "Dad, I haven't been to school since October. I did 1 month."
I'm guessing he didn't take that all that well.
No. No, he didn't. But I wound up getting a job and doing the whole 9-to-5 gig, and
Well, there you go.
Even that didn't work out. I was always a knucklehead. So even the 9-to-5 job, I was like, I got a 9-to-5 job. I started getting paid a decent amount of money, like $500-$600 a week. And I was like, first thing I need to get a girlfriend, right? All right. Oh, great. Well, I can't fuck her in my house because my parents are there, so I need to get a hotel every week.
Kind of cuts into the funds a little bit, yeah.
Oh, now we're going in now. We want to drink, we want to smoke, we want to do our, do our little rock star lifestyle.
That gets a little expensive after a while, don't it?
Burning both ends of the candle, brother. Both ends of the candle. And I wound up actually getting fired from that job because they caught me sleeping. I was taking a lot of ecstasy during that time. So one day, what I did was we had the office and then a warehouse, a double-decker warehouse. So I would go upstairs, set up a bunch of boxes, take a bunch of rags for the oil rags, right? Throw them in a plastic bag, use that as my pillow, and I would just go back there and sleep. So one day they called me into the office and everything, and the boss is like, Kris, we're gonna have to let you go. And I'm like, oh, why? What's wrong? And they're like, well, there's been plenty of times where we've seen on camera you go to the back and you just disappear and you don't come out for a couple hours. We found your bed. And
Yep, that was that.
And I felt so bad because my dad got me a job. It was a company he works for.
Oh, jeez.
An elevator company. So I was like, oh, fuck. And also, I was scheming overtime because I had to wait for my dad to get off of work so that we can go home. I would stay on the clock until my dad came, which sometimes would be an hour and a half till he came off the job and got to the office. Mm-hmm. So when he got to the office, I would clock out, and it'd be like 4:30, so that's an hour and a half overtime. So they caught on to that, and I was just like, oh, well, this is fucked.
That's amazing.
But then again, I was 18, 19 years old. I had money, and I had the world, right? Yeah. And then, right after I lost the job, okay, obviously I lost the money. I lost the girl.
Well, Well, why don't I go wrestle now?
Yeah, right?
This is great. Kris, before we wrap up, last couple things. Do you have like a list of like favorite guys that you've worked with in the past? I know you mentioned Sebastian Cage and Royal Money. Was it? Who were some of your
Money,
who were some of your other favorite guys to work with?
Jay Storm. He was another one of my recent opponents. He was good, man. He was awesome. Easy to work with. Travis Banks, another one of my infinite guys.
Is he Travis Banks from NXT UK?
No.
Different guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
that guy's in a little bit of a hot water, huh?
Yeah. No, I heard about him.
But there's this tag team that me and Pun had wrestled. The Cool People. They were really awesome. They were like probably one of my favorite tag teams to work with because it was kind of like we came in there with a plan for a match, and we're like, hey, you guys want an easy night? Like that's how we explained. You guys want an easy night? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, what do you think about this? And legit, the match was before the bell rings during that entrance. We beat the shit out of them. Take one of their guys out. So it's only like, so one of them's injured or whatever. So we did that whole thing. And it was the easiest match of their life. And they were like, dude, that was so easy. And the crowd ate it up. They were one of our favorite people to work with. Riot City's Most Wanted. They were another team that actually helped, kind of helped put us out there as a tag team. And there's some guys that I never really got to work a match with, or trained with, that Superstar Whiplash, Mike Whiplash. He works with the Samoans Alpha, NYWC. He's from the New York area.
Okay.
Mike Verner is another guy I like to train with. He's cool. The Elements. Oh, those are my favorite. That's another one of my favorite tag teams. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of guys out there that I really trained with or worked with, but those are mostly like the most notable that I can sit there and be like, yeah. Working with Sammy Callahan as part of the Snot was definitely a highlight of my career. Like
he's
incredible.
Was just so, yeah.
And he was like really into the gimmick. Like that first promo we cut with him, like when he debuted that night, which no one expected, because we said it was going to be, we were bringing in Sammy Callahan. He was working this kid Magma. And, after the match, you just see me and the rest of Snot come out. Oh, no, me come out, and I throw him a Snot shirt, and he just takes it, and continues beating the shit out of this. So no one expected that. And then he cuts his promo that I believe it's still on YouTube. I'll link it after we get done with this.
Yeah, please.
Where his intensity and the way he describes the gimmick,
mm-hmm.
He was so into it. And so then
he's such a great heel. He really is.
He is. So that was another one of my favorite guys, Kevin Matthews, when he was part of Snot. We didn't get to work much together. He was one of those guys that I did the whole PWS thing with.
I really enjoyed the stuff he did in Impact with Fallah Bahh. I thought they were a really funny team.
What's funny is like right after this whole Snot thing, like the FSW died, Mario Bocara and Kevin Matthews get signed to Impact, and I'm like, that could have been so much fucking buzz for us, man.
Yeah.
But Kevin Matthews is a funny dude.
Yeah.
He's one of those dudes you have to really get to know and understand. Like he's kind of like, he's a New York guy, so he's an asshole, But you have to get his sense of humor. You have to understand his brashness. He's a funny guy. I remember one time me and Pun invaded this shit show that was going on, and in this bar that I used to hang out as a kid. And so it was kind of like I could just walk in there or whatever. So we went to this show. We got invited by our friend that was working there, and the whole time we were shitting on the show there. Like we got free tickets to the show. Not only did we get free tickets to the show, okay, but Pun's son won the giveaway. The giveaway,
wow,
which you only get entered in the giveaway if you buy tickets. But we were given tickets, so not only did we get it for free, but his son wins WWE tickets.
Oh man, instant heat.
Instant heat. We're shitting all like during the matches. Like probably this is the most professional thing to do, but I will straight up go to my grave saying no guys were shit. There was like 2 guys that could have been anything out of that company.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just ragging during the show. The fans are reacting to us ragging on this show. Kevin Matthews is there because they rented WrestlePro's ring.
Mm-hmm.
And like me and Paul were like, all right, maybe we should stop. So during intermission, Kevin Matthews comes up to me and goes, no, you guys got to fucking keep going. You guys are the show. And I think
It
that
becomes like Colt Cabana $5 wrestling all of a sudden, where they're listening to you
and I,
you do commentary.
and I think that was before Kevin actually joined Snot, or like after or whatever. But yeah, that was a cool moment, man. Great dude. I gotta say, I met a lot of great people in this business. I met a lot of shitty people, but I met a lot of great people that without them, like Joel, Franco, Dave, even some people that I've had falling outs with, where I could sit there and say, you know what, I can't sit there and say, hey, I fully hate you or anything, because without you, I probably wouldn't be where I am. So I'll always give credit where credit is due, but I met a lot of good people, and if I fucking decided, hey, today I'm done, I think I could be happy knowing that, at least me knowing what I've done in this business and things I've done, the fact that I was able to train guys. A lot of shit that I do, I never brag about. I was able to train guys. I was booking. I was flying people in. I've done a lot of things that you may not know. Like, I've helped train a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I'll never, and it'll never be known, but at least I can walk off into the sunset and say, hey, I know what I did. I know my value and the people that I've helped out, and I know the people that have touched my life and the people I've met. And at the end of the day, it's that's the only thing that matters.
That's awesome, man. It's such a cool thing, and the great thing about wrestling is that even though it's a very competitive market, it is such a tight knit community. I feel where like so many people know everyone. So that's I sometimes I kind of wish the music scene had a little bit more of that. In terms of like respecting the veterans and all the way down, and even like you guys call yourselves brothers and sisters and stuff. Like I wish we would do that more with bands. But it's awesome, man. Kris Rex, thank you so much. This has been an amazing interview.
Yeah, I had fun with this one, Jack. Definitely look forward to either you coming back on my podcast, me coming back on your podcast. A few things I'd like to plug.
Go for it.
Motley Metal is officially on Twitter at Motley_Metal, because somebody took Motley Metal. So we're now on Twitter and Instagram, same thing, at Motley_Metal. Motley Metal will be doing our first video feed Monday, September 21st. We'll be doing our first video version of it. It'll also be available on audio live as well. And September 30th is International Podcast Day. So Mile High Radio and Pipe Bomb Radio, we're joining together to bring this awesome super show, I guess, is the way you say. We're going to have a bunch of different podcasts. Hopefully, you'll join us.
Yeah, and, let me know the details. If I can do it, I'd love to.
Yeah, and that's going to be we're going to be streaming that on like 5 or 6 different platforms. So there's really no way you can miss it. You're going to be able to miss that. Yeah, man, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to wrestling soon. I really haven't been too worried about wrestling lately.
I'm
focusing on the podcast.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we could spend like another 5 hours talking about that stuff, I'm sure. Yeah. Especially with COVID and how you're dealing with that. But man, you've given me a lot of good stuff today. So I think we've got enough for a podcast for sure.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like I said, I got the gift of gab, so I could talk.
Thanks once again to Kris Rex for just being a great guest. Lots of pretty wild stories about his time, before being a wrestler and during getting his start in the business. Just a real cool insight about some of the stuff these guys go through. It's not all that different from being in rock bands or anyone who's trying to make a name for themselves in the entertainment industry. So I really want to thank Kris for sharing so much of his journey so far. It's really been enlightening, and I definitely recommend you get the chance to check out his show, Motley Metal, on NYC Pipe Bomb Radio, on Spreaker. Motley Metal streams live every Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Spreaker.com/show/Motley Metal. You could follow them on social media at Motley_Metal. And you could follow Kris across all social media platforms at Rex Wrestles. I'll be putting a copy of this in the description so you guys can follow along. But yes, at Rex Wrestles, and you can buy some of his merchandise at rexwrestles.threadless.com. Make sure you do that. That's really how a lot of these guys, a lot of these independent wrestlers, it's really how a lot of them make their living and how they're able to keep doing what they're doing. So please make sure you check that out. So that is it for this episode of the Phoenix Report. Thank you for tuning in as always. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at jackxconnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/jackconnormusic. Also, feel free to check out my bands, Vertebreaker at facebook.com/vertebreakerband and Mature Musical Pictures at maturemusicalpictures.com. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. No matter where you're listening to this, whether it's YouTube, iTunes, wherever it may be, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when we have new episodes. Leave a comment. Go back and listen to my other episodes. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Hope you like it. It's it's music, pro wrestling, movies, whatever I feel like talking about. It's all here. So thank you as always for tuning in. This has been the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.